Welcome to Season 4 of E-Commerce Fastlane. This podcast helps resilient entrepreneurs thrive with Shopify. And now, on to episode 187.
You're listening to E-Commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Now, this episode is brought to you by Attentive. Now, how do most innovative companies reach consumers? Well, meet Attentive, the text message solution trusted by innovative retailers and e-commerce brands like CB2, Coach, and thousands of Shopify brands. Now, on average, Attentive customers see a 25x ROI, and an 18.5% of their online revenue is driven by SMS, so it's very compelling. You can grow your SMS list fast and engage with high-value mobile subscribers with personalized messages that exceed your performance marketing goals. Now, getting started is super easy. Attentive's best-in-class SMS marketing experts will help you quickly launch and scale your SMS program. Now, are you ready for SMS to become one of your top 3 revenue channels? You can learn more how to get started with your free trial by requesting a demo at attentivemobile.com. Well, hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the E-Commerce Fastlane podcast. Now, if this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving with your store powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. If you're an ambitious lifelong learner, which you probably are since you're listening in today, you're definitely in the right place. Now, new episodes are available twice weekly with your favorite podcast players like Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and many more. You can also stream current episodes, including a very relevant back catalog. I think we're up to 186, 87 episodes. So go check out ecommercefastlane.com. A lot of great partners in the Shopify ecosystem and the problems that they're solving. A lot of great offers and things on those show notes pages. So go check out that back catalog. Now, in today's episode, I'm super excited. Encore recording, actually. So it's Jonathan Poma, who is the founder and CEO of a company called Loop, and I call them Loop Returns. And what Loop is they are a returns and exchange platform, and it's been purpose-built for Shopify merchants. And what it does is it drives a lot of customer lifetime value and helps reduce a lot of refunds. So it really helps the exchange process than just customers just demanding for a refund. And they have some really unique tech that's unique to the marketplace about how to facilitate an instant exchange, kind of how that all works. And at the end of the day, Loop really is here to help make more money for brands and saving sales, I think, is the key. A lot of notable partners in the Shopify world, like Allbirds, Brooklinen, Chubby Shorts. I mean, there's a massive list. Go to their website. You'll see a ridiculous amount of amazing direct-to-consumer brands have made the decision to use Loop as part of their post-purchase kind of returns experience. So pretty amazing solution. So I'd like to welcome Jonathan again to E-Commerce Fastlane.
Yeah, Steve, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back here almost a year later, and holy cow, like closing in on 200 episodes is no small feat. So kudos to you for just giving into the community and into the ecosystem and helping everybody be successful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I just checked. Yeah, you're right. Episode 112, and you're going to be 186 or 187. We have to make it a pact, maybe an annual event, at least to get you on, because I know the platform keeps iterating and it keeps improving, and there's more and more case studies and benefits of why people need to think about the returns is not an afterthought. I know we're going to get into this because this is near and dear to your heart, but so there may be but a lot of people realize maybe the benefits of having a returns experience. Some are just doing it through Gmail and it's one-off and it's very ad hoc, but that's not how Loop does it. So I just would love to hear on a high level first about the problems you're solving for the Shopify store owners.
Yeah, totally. And I guess I'd maybe even frame it in kind of, I think there are two camps. Maybe it's a really simple mental model to think about it. But there's kind of the cost center of returns and the value center or the profit center of returns. And we kind of play in both of those areas. But where we've certainly differentiated is I'd call it the value center or the profit center of returns, where so often someone hears return and they think refund and they think of those things synonymously, and we kind of live in a world between those two events. And our belief really is that just because a product didn't meet a customer's expectations for whatever reason, and they're deciding to return it, doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they want a refund, doesn't mean that they need a refund, and doesn't mean that they necessarily want to end the relationship with that merchant, but actually that they want to find a product that they're going to love. And so we've kind of built an experience that from the moment you scroll to the footer of a brand's website, you click on returns and exchanges, that opens up Loop, and then you enter your order number and your shipping zip, and ultimately what we do is build an experience that feels a lot like shopping to help you exchange for a product that you're going to love. And that's kind of the value center side. And then the cost center side, which candidly, if you were to ask me like what's changed in the last 12 months or anything like that, I think we certainly maybe overlooked this side of the equation a little bit, and the importance of just reducing the cost of returns for merchants through making single parcel returns less expensive with negotiated carrier rates and things like that, but also consolidation, so single parcel and then consolidation, and really focusing on reducing the overall burden of reverse logistics on the P&L of a business, and just reducing that burden over time. So those are kind of the two worlds we play in, and obviously there's a little bit on the surface and then a whole lot beneath it.
Yeah, I know, that's lovely, because I think that's one of the challenges that I think some brands think about, is that they feel it's a very unfortunate cost of doing business by having to do a return, because they wonder if they can reuse the product, and just like what's the whole experience around it. And it's almost hidden in a lot of people's footers, or email us here. I think the more you're transparent about what your return policy is and how you facilitate it, and then with your solution being able to say, hey, was it a sizing or a color challenge? Hey, just so you know, without having to send the product back, we have an opportunity right now where we can actually get this thing exchanged to you right now, even though you still have the wrong size, the wrong color, and you're able to facilitate all of this. I think it's pretty amazing technology. Yeah,
no, thanks. And I mean, even I'm certain I will slightly misquote this statistic, but even when shoppers are going online to buy for the first time, I think 30 plus, maybe 40% or more of shoppers check the return policy and check kind of the returns and exchanges just experience before buying a product. And what we've found is and honestly, even in our product today, we're about to introduce a landing page builder that helps our merchants build a highly designed experiential landing page that explains their return policy and explains how returns and refunds and exchanges work. Because in this world of more and more customers shopping online, they're checking return policies and making sure that they can trust a brand before they buy. And so, yes, there's this whole world of post-purchase as well, that is like where our bread and butter exists. But even just highlighting, and to your point, transparently sharing what a customer's expectations should be with returns and exchanges can be a real qualifying moment with a brand when you're considering buying for the first time. And that's just, we find that that's more and more important, as more and more brands build online, and as more and more customers come online to buy for the first time.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey, because I think it's kind of important to frame it a bit about leadership in an organization, and why they build what they build. And you have a very, I'm going to say, storied background. I think way back, I believe, if I remember correctly, from consulting background way back, and then into the Shopify ecosystem. But maybe you can kind of walk us through a little of a TLDR of kind of where you were and what happened as of late, and then and then how Loop fits into all this equation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll set my stopwatch so that I don't take too much time. But from 2009 to 2013, really, I was in a boutique consultancy working on online systems. I was kind of a product manager or an information architect. We would build all sorts of things, and I kind of fell in love with first the idea of testing and validating that an experience was better. I brought Optimizely to the organization I was working working at. Optimizely is a testing, like an A/B testing and now a personalization platform, and kind of love that. And then one of our clients was like Donato's Pizza, and we ran an experiment and changed their online ordering flow and saw a demonstrable impact in driving more purchases online, and was kind of like hooked at that point with e-commerce and with validation and testing. And so I got recruited away from that agency to lead digital strategy for a direct-to-consumer brand called Homage. Homage sells vintage-inspired apparel, a lot of athletics and athleisure type stuff. They're based here in Columbus, and we were on a predecessor to Magento called Zencart. This was like fall of 2013, and I replatformed us to Shopify Plus. I remember like being in the Toronto office in Shopify and seeing Homage on a whiteboard. I swear, I can't validate it, but I think we were like one of the first 10 brands to sign a Shopify Plus contract. So I went from like agency side to brand side, and replatformed us, moved our whole catalog, built the product architecture, was working with early iterations of the Shopify gift cards API and getting all that set up. We had a few retail stores running Microsoft RMS point of sale. So I had to figure out how to make all that stuff work effectively. And then I kind of re-architected, built ShipStation into our warehouse to set up the way that we were fulfilling orders and move us from fulfilling on invoices to fulfilling from pick lists and set up a Serpentine system. And so kind of saw all the problems inside out and all the opportunities inside out, and decided from there that I wanted to start a Shopify Plus agency in the very early days, and wouldn't have done it if my wife hadn't probably encouraged me to do it, honestly, and if I hadn't had some partners along the way. But started then in their Rocket Code in 2014. We were one of the original 6 Shopify Plus agencies. We grew to 30 or 40 folks and a few million in annual revenue, sold to BVA, who's one of the largest independent Shopify agencies in the ecosystem. Worked with some incredible brands along the way, Movement Watches, Tommy John, Chubby Shorts, and ultimately Chubby's. I still remember where I was when their VP of Finance, now their CFO, Dave Wardell, called me and said, "Hey, we're having this challenge with returns." And I kind of put on my consulting hat and listened to some questions, and hung up the phone and grabbed some of our team and looked at Shopify's APIs and kind of proof of concepted on a whiteboard this experience where we kind of said like, "Hey, you should be able to look up your return and you should be able to you should be able to track inventory and make a purchase and build an exchange and shop and all that sort of stuff." And we launched that for Chubby's in 2015. We called it Chubby's RMA, which is like the return manufacturer's authorization.
Yeah.
And about a year later, it was saving their CX team, hundreds of hours a year. It was driving their shoppers' net promoter scores higher. It was increasing repeat purchase rate. It was driving lifetime value. Many of the things that are still true in Loop today. And I was out in San Francisco with the Chubby's team doing our annual planning, and Kyle Hensey, their founder and CEO, kind of said like, "Hey, this is a software company. We should do something with this." So my agency Rocket Code and Chubby Shorts formed a joint venture, and so Loop was born. In 2017, I went on to continue running Rocket Code through the sale to BVA, and then through a change of control sale to a private equity family office called August Spark at BVA. And then found my way back into Loop in May of 2019. We were, 10 folks. We were a seed stage company. Went right into raising our Series A from First Mark in New York, actually, who Amish Johnny there co-led Shopify's Series A back in the day. Just these interesting through lines that come to pass, and ultimately, took over as CEO in February of 20, into the pandemic of last year. And we were, on Friday, March 13th, we were 25 humans. 20 of us were here in Columbus, Ohio, and 5 of us were remote. And, fast forward to today, we're actually, I think as of this week, 100 humans, and 35 of us are in Columbus and 65 of us are remote. So we've really embraced that remote first mindset and mentality, and are working on building that culture. And have scaled and are still building exclusively and purposefully for Shopify merchants. And we're I think with our projections coming through holiday, we'll be processing around $100 million in returns monthly through the holiday season. So a lot of growth, a lot of scale, and a lot of excitement just kind of being a part of our merchant stories and a part of the Shopify ecosystem.
Yeah, I love it. It's quite an epic journey you've been on right now, and I do appreciate that. And I think that kind of sets the stage a bit about leadership in general, about saying, hey, wait a second, we've built something purpose, we've had a challenge, or like way back from the beginning, and then being so close to the fold when it comes to Chubby's and other kind of notable Shopify brands that we see today, and digging into it. So I appreciate the fact that you're a technical founder, and I think that just adds a lot of merit and credibility to the fact that I'm leading a company with a lot of great engineers, a lot of success team members also. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to partnering up and aligning yourself with what Shopify is working on as it relates to our open APIs. And I think that's very notable. And that's one of the reasons why I'm having you on, because I know that you're doing epic work and you really do make a huge difference for a lot of brands. One thing I know is that when you do a quick Google search, returns exchange kind of post-purchase experience is, like I said, typically not new for a lot of folks. And those that want a process or a system to help them with that, as you mentioned, you call it, there's the value side of your platform, but there's also the cost savings side of the platform to facilitate these exchanges instantly. Doing a Google search or going into the Shopify App Store, you'll see a lot of other notable technology partners that are, I'd say, maybe attempting to do the same thing, but they're really not. So I just was curious about, from your perspective, since you're so close to the Shopify world and to your platform, is like what is different or unique? What's the secret sauce, so to speak, about why someone should choose Loop maybe versus other notable competitors in the returns exchange space?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And honestly, even considering a returns solution, return software is an important thing to do, and there are lots of great options, and I think the space is big enough for plenty of winners. And I am friendly with a lot of the leaders and believe that rising tides raise all ships, and hopefully here in a few months we'll be announcing a big partnership with somebody who might otherwise be thought of as a competitor in the space, because we see synergies between sort of where we're great and where they're great. But I think, when I think about differentiation and why Loop, I maybe start a little bit esoteric in a sense, but we very much are a product first company. We're not financial tech. We're not. I wouldn't even necessarily think of the way we build as software. It is, but we're a product company, and I think we stay very, very close to our customers. And from day one, even to our detriment, I mentioned earlier that we sort of discounted the importance of the cost center side of returns. But the benefit there has been that we've just been ruthlessly focused on delivering an exceptional customer experience. So from the time a customer thinks they might want to return a product to the time they finish that return, drop it off and get the exchange back, we just ruthlessly optimize that experience to make sure we're helping those shoppers find a product that they love. And then, I think the Shopify focus has been a really a big differentiator for us as well. Shopify has done so many things well, but they've maintained a really simple product architecture. It's all this shared architecture, as opposed to some of these other platforms where all these data structures can be customized. And we are still to date the only returns provider that's building exclusively for any single platform, let alone exclusively for Shopify. And so what that has allowed us to do is, rather than being a mile wide and an inch deep and building kind of lowest common denominator functionality and features that work everywhere, we're able to go, an inch wide and a mile deep and be really, really deeply integrated into the shopping experience, into the way variants are used, tags are used, Shopify Plus functionality like Flow works. but also even, getting into the deep technical nature of like the accounting ledger and how revenue recognition and revenue is reconciled across you place an order in August and you return it for a different item in September. Where does that revenue sit and how does it get recognized and reconciled? And even into like working on new APIs and making sure that we're on the forefront of, where Shopify is going with GraphQL APIs, and that we're not lagging as the RESTful APIs eventually kind of turn over into this new architecture. But it just allows us to be, purpose built is the language, and then it comes from the customer experience, the technical nature, and then I would say like the financial architecture as well.
Yeah, lovely. So let's talk about Q4, because I think that's on a lot of people's minds right now, just based on this recording going out. We're, second week-ish of September. It's back to school for North America. So the kiddies are kind of doing their thing. Those sales have kind of, a lot of them have sailed already, but people are really starting to think about, I know brands that I talk to are thinking a lot about their supply chain. They're thinking about the fulfillment side of the business. What's happening? Has FedEx and UPS scaled up based on what happened last year? The answer is probably no, but I think they're working at it. But I just would love to maybe understand from your perspective, like, are there certain things that you're recommending? Because there's going to be this inevitable rush that is happening. I mean, Delta variant right now, there's lots of stuff going on. So e-commerce is not going away. I think humans, like all these merchants out here, the customers, they know to shop early. They know that there's supply chain problems. So people know all that. So I just would love to hear from your side. Like, what are you hearing being on the ground, on the forefront of like these direct-to-consumer brands? What should a brand do today just so that they're prepared?
Yeah, great question, Steve. And let me even just kind of set the table with kind of what I think this all looks like, and kind of go deep into the supply chain. And maybe this is not the most relevant thing for some of the audience, but when we think about supply chain, I think we like to think that it's all like technology, but there are people behind it, and they're shipping containers and getting stuff across the ocean behind it. And if we go all the way back to 2020, when we needed to get PPE around the world to help the global population address the pandemic, we sent that in shipping containers, and we sent it off of major routes. And what that has meant is there's a general shipping container shortage, and so getting products from China to California is now much more expensive, with a shortage of supply. And, as we know, 25+% of merchants' revenue happens in the fourth quarter through holiday. And we see a 30 to 40% increase in returns through holiday. We're seeing it's harder to get products to the States. And then, with COVID and the Delta variant, there's then a labor shortage as well. So not only do we have a hard time getting the products here, we have a hard time getting people to unload those products from containers. And so there's like a couple of components. There's, are merchants going to be able to get the products they need to sell as demand continues to increase? And then, I think in fulfillment, there's both 3PLs and then there's carriers. And I think there's this image of fulfillment and 3PLs like it's, some automated system and it's all robotics. But, e-commerce warehouses are virtually at capacity today. They have a labor shortage, and it's still very manual. It's, humans walking down aisles, picking, packing, and shipping products. And so, with the continued spread of COVID, the Delta variant, unemployment benefits, and other factors, there's a labor shortage in fulfillment. And then as you might expect from there, not only do they need fulfilled from a 3PL, but they need delivered by a carrier, and there's a labor shortage there as well. And then there's rate hikes. I think just this past week, postage increased from 55 to 58 cents, and the USPS and FedEx and UPS are all they've all announced peak season surcharges and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of laying the land for like what's true. And then I think, on the merchant side, there are a few things to do. And then I think just as humans, a good reminder is, I just think of empathy as the message for the season. Like, it's challenging for brands, it's challenging for shoppers, it's challenging for families. And if we can just, all have some empathy and remember that there are humans behind all of this, trying to make it work. And we've got to do what we've got to do. And we're going to have some challenges. We're going to have some hardships. I think that's like probably my human reminder. I think when I think of advising merchants, I certainly think, and it's hard to share some of this without plugging Loop and even the industry in general. But I think off the bat, with the volume that we're processing, we're able to just save on day one, 20 to 30, sometimes even more than that in reverse logistics and shipping costs, and cash flow is very different than profitability. And, if merchants are going to pay more money to get products sooner, to pay for air freight rather than sea freight, if we're going to need to subsidize shipping methods so that, we can guarantee products get to shoppers, those things all cost money. And, a solution like Loop can, day one, you turn it on and it can help save merchants money. So that's like maybe my Loop plug. But I would say beyond that, like, watch cash flow, manage your merchandising to make sure inventory, a product that you have inventoried is front and center, leverage email marketing and SMS and all those things that you typically would well. And, try to shift that behavior to purchase earlier. I do think, there's always this question, like, can we really influence shopping to happen before Black Friday? And I think in the margins we can, but maybe just even like the other side of that is like acknowledging what's going to be true. And what's going to be true is that people are, 80% of holiday shopping is still going to happen. At least 80% of holiday shopping is still going to happen between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So I think like most, if shoppers and merchants have relationships, like any relationship that exists on the planet, communication is key. And so communication with microcopy on the website, with, any inventory statuses or shipping expectations in your transactional emails, in your SMS, just being proactive rather than reactive. And I tend to hope and believe and kind of live by the mantra that we can handle disappointments, but we can't handle surprises as humans. And so I think that, if merchants can, and it can be a tough pill to swallow, but kind of bite the bullet and kind of just focus on under promising and over delivering, and communicating upfront about challenges they're expecting with supply chain or inventory or shipping or things like that. That's what we can do to make sure we're thinking long term and not just trying to optimize for the short term.
I'd add to that also. I know Harley kind of touts this quite a bit, talking about share of wallet, and just saying that there really is a for the most part, finite amount of money available to a customer that wants to spend over the holiday seasons. Just it's a natural kind of thing. And so knowing there's that share of wallet, I'm finding a lot of brands now are choosing to start early. They are they're thinking about doing limited drops. They're doing a lot of things like, as you said, like build your email list and get your push notifications working, get your SMS opt-ins. Thinking about ways. I mean, even some tools like Gatsby, for example, that's getting the Instagram handle opt-in, just thinking about the micro influencer around your brand. There's a lot of things that you can do today in anticipation for, unfortunately, a small share of wallet available for a lot more players in the space. But, with traditional retail being a little bit challenged just because of COVID and things like that, people are still going online. But I think people have been trained a little bit about wanting to shop early. And I think brands are getting on board with that. What's your take on internationalizations? I think that's only the last topic that I think comes up a lot with my brands, where maybe they're selling in the US and Canada. They want to go overseas, but like, how does the post-purchase or the returns and exchange experience work as it relates to internationalization?
Yeah, great question. So when we think about internationalization, what it really comes down to is, I would say, the financial side of things and what it takes to get returns. If I just think of our world, getting returns across borders. And so what we've done, and I think of like there are a few ways to do things. You can build it yourself, or you can partner with best in class providers. And we've certainly taken a partnership approach to international and cross border. And we, particularly if we're speaking of U.S. and Canada, have partnerships and a cross border offering that enables kind of consolidation on one side of the border to reduce that burden for customers and make returning and exchanging possible. But from a merchant perspective, obviously some of this only comes with size and scale. But I think the question, the optimal scenario from a customer experience and a scale perspective is to have localized fulfillment. Obviously that there's I think it's logarithmic, not linear complexity, where 3 centers is not 3 times more expensive or 3 times more complex. It's 6 times more expensive. 4 is not 4 times. It's 12 times, and all of that. But I think having a vision for what you want to build in terms of international infrastructure and being able to find fulfillment partners who can, especially if we're only talking about returns, help you consolidate returns before they need to cross a border, so that you're not shipping back individual parcels, but you're shipping back skids or less than truckload shipments or something like that. And that's kind of the way to reduce the customer burden and make the best experience possible. And, we always think that we want to deliver the best customer experience, and then by proxy that will serve the merchant. And I guess the other way of thinking about it would be like, let's do what's optimal for the merchant and hope that serves the shopper. But we kind of look at it through serving the end customer first.
Right. That's a really good point, because I think a lot of brands that I manage really don't have the on the ground fulfillment option. I know Brexit has caused some challenges. Some people are shipping out of Ireland to take care of the EU, and they're doing all the different things, trying to get it figured out. But then others are just like, no, we're going to charge a little bit more, duties and tax in the cart. It just kind of is what it is, just as they try to grow that market. And I think that's a way of testing into a market. A lot of American brands have just decided to test into Canada just to see what happens, and not a full selection. Just test cross-border, see what happens. I know Brooke Linen does a fabulous job from the U.S. into Canada. My wife her mind was blown. Just like came here in 2 days. It's just ridiculous for a Canadian to buy from an American company. Even Nike does a fabulous job, and they're coming from Europe, and it's here in 2 days. So they've got their logistics and fulfillment dialed in, and the returns experience was phenomenal with Nike. We bought 2 sizes. One was incorrect, and it was picked up within 4 or 5 hours. It was, already got a message back that we received your package and your refund is now being processed. Unbelievable that this kind of opportunity is available in the world. And so I think some of these major players are kind of setting the stage that this is what customers are demanding. So very, very interesting.
Yeah, Steve, really, really great call outs on the brand side there. And when you think about, rolling in some of those value added taxes and other taxes, as you were talking, it made me think more of that, like, communicate proactively and be transparent. Yes. And, a shopper is going to be, again, maybe they might be a little bit disappointed that it costs more, but they'll appreciate the transparency, and then they won't be surprised down the road when they've got to return an item or anything like that. So it's maybe that becomes a common thread of just all of this is make sure we're communicating as proactively and transparently as possible with shoppers in the buying experience and the returns experience and all of our marketing, so on and so forth.
So let's pivot a bit over to a story, because I think, as entrepreneurs and marketers, we really, I just love stories. I think it's the education and the inspiration that goes along with a story that I think can really help motivate change in those that are listening today, including myself. I mean, I have a book of business. I manage quite a few accounts, and I learn a lot from these shows. A lot of them are through the stories that are told from the founders. So hopefully I don't put you on the spot here, but I just would love if you could share maybe, a recent journey, maybe of a Shopify brand, maybe even a Plus brand that, has implemented Loop, and just their whole kind of experience before Loop, and then kind of how'd they find you? What did they do? And then was there an outcome that they were excited about and happy to continue being a Loop customer?
Yeah, Steve. So there's one story that jumps to mind, and it was actually because of a video that got circulated through our company. And I'll maybe share that story here in a second. But so Inherit Clothing is a Shopify Plus merchant. And the video that made the rounds internally and honestly got me a little choked up and excited. The operations director at the organization, I don't even know how we ended up with the video, but she shared just how thrilled she was when she saw that refunds were diminishing in the business and that they were shifting more of their returns into exchanges, using the Shop Now functionality. And she was just like overjoyed and overcome in the video that we got. But we've been working with them for about a year prior to this value add moment. And our merchant success team, much like your merchant success team at Shopify, working actively with our merchants to help make sure they're getting the most out of the platform, introduced to them, maybe to back up for a minute, we recently introduced instant exchange functionality. Right. And to maybe take that tangent for a moment, prior to us having our instant exchange functionality, if I wanted to exchange for a product, we didn't hold that inventory. And so it wouldn't ship and the exchange wouldn't be pulled or the item wouldn't be pulled from inventory until the customer shipped the return back. And 90%+ of the time that is and was fine, but that still leaves almost 10% of the time where an item would go out of stock, and especially as you talk about these limited edition drops and scarcity, the idea of an out of stock event is suboptimal. Right. And then we for a whole litany of reasons we wanted to introduce instant exchanges, but we did that, and we did that in a way where we're not taking percentage of the sale from merchants at all. We don't touch that, and what we've done, and we've seen it be really successful, is we give the customer the option. We can say, hey, look, this will ship to you when you drop it in the mail, or if you'd like to get it sooner and have it ship out instantaneously, you can enter your credit card information. We will put a $1 pre-authorization, and so long as you ship your return back within an allotted window set by the merchant, 14, 21, 28 days, you'll never be charged. But we introduced that functionality. Our team reached out to the team at Inherit and basically sold them on this exchange first approach, got them to introduce Shop Now functionality, which is an option that a merchant can opt into, and to leverage instant exchanges. And it totally changed the way that worked. So Inherit kind of turned on that Shop Now. They turned on instant exchanges, and just like the overnight impact of reducing shipping costs and reducing label fees, they not only saw like an immediate drop in refunds of, I think it's like 35%, but that meant that at scale for an organization, they're retaining thousands and thousands of dollars of revenue. And, I think not only that, but then they saw, because they've got a great CX team and they are listening to their customers as any good organization should, also just saw an immediate response of gratitude from shoppers. And I think some of the stats that we saw, even within a month of having that turned on, reduced refunds by 35% and increased upsell revenue. And this is not a misspoken statistic, by 333%, by generating new sales through the exchange process, meaning like I'm returning an $80 item, and I'm not just going to return it and exchange it for an $80 item. I'm actually going to spend more money to get another product that I love. I love the fact that they have, number one, thanks for sharing that story. I just, as you were speaking, I went over to their website to have a little peek to see. So returns very much front and center available. I love their brand voice. And I think this is a good lesson to be learned, that, they're very transparent about, looking to exchange or return. Hey, let's get started. Make sure that you enter your 6-digit order number and your zip code and yada, yada, yada. And they go through it. But then I love the language that they have on the return section. It says, an $8.95 shipping fee is charged when you return your items. This covers the cost of the shipping label that we'll email you. Or you can try our new Shop Now feature, not wanting to wait for your refund to process to keep shopping at this company. Shop with your credit from your return with this new feature. Did we mention that we cover the shipping costs? When, it's so amazing that they actually position the language saying, yeah, it's $8.95. It's reasonable. No, we don't offer free shipping. But if you're looking to make an exchange, we have an instant opportunity available thanks to your platform to take that return credit and be able to use it. So really, really well executed. So no wonder they're doing so well. Yeah, no, it's so well done. And it's just like proactively leveraging the biggest question shoppers have when they're buying in that post-purchase experience to highlight and build confidence before buying the first time, and then to be able to follow through on it thereafter.
So, Jonathan, we are nearing the end of the show for today, and you've shared a lot of knowledge. I just massively appreciate you coming on the show today. Are there any insights or any takeaways that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, Steve, thanks. Thanks for asking and for the opportunity to share. Yeah, when I think about heading into holiday and just making sure that we build the right experience for our customers throughout the journey, it's not just about driving that upfront purchase and making sure it's as seamless and easy as possible, but returns, they are a critical part of the customer's journey with a brand. And what we see is that by offering customers a great returns experience, those customers are going to spend 2 to 3 times more than your average customer in their lifetime. And so, customers are buying online. You're encouraging them to shop for the first time, and everything isn't perfectly uniform. So, customers are going to get the wrong size. They're maybe going to get the wrong color or variant, especially heading into holiday where we're buying gifts for everyone else. We're going to see returns up, more than 30%. And for brands, and maybe this has been the mantra of the conversation, there is and always has been the cost center side of returns. Yes, we should automate the returns process. Yes, we should shorten the return cycle. Yes, you can plug in Loop and save 20 to 30% on your reverse logistics costs overnight. But that's not the only reason to focus on returns. Yes, you can save that time and money, but you really can build a stronger relationship with customers. And I tend to think that these moments, these inflection points in any relationship are where trust can really be built, and lifetime relationships, lifelong relationships can be built, or they can be diminished. And when a product, for whatever reason, doesn't meet a customer's expectations and they need to return it, how a merchant responds and how a merchant shows up in that moment and what they offer to their customers can build a lifelong relationship and really foster loyalty between the shopper and the brand. So, we think of returns as a key part of that post-purchase journey to help customers find a product that they love and turn, an otherwise potentially disappointing experience into one that's very memorable and very positive. So, it's not just saving the sale right at that moment in time, but keeping and enriching the relationship that you as a merchant have with that customer for a lifetime.
Love it. Thanks so much for sharing that. So how can people learn more about Loop Returns? Where can they go and kind of next steps?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us at loopreturns.com. And if you want to see some of the content that we're publishing and hopefully sharing some insights that help merchants run a great business, loopreturns.com/blog. We're also on Twitter at the handle @Loop. And then you can always find me on Twitter as well at the handle @PomaJP.
Okay. Cool. I'll make sure I put that all in the show notes so we can stalk you and get a hold of some of your content. Yeah. We did speak offline in the green room before recording today, and understand that you would like to, I guess, offer a listener-only promotion or bonus to take Loop for a spin.
Yeah. And so one of the, I think, nice things about Loop is that it can be installed and set up without really interrupting anything else. And it can be a value add without, interrupting a code freeze or challenging anything there. So, the promotion we'd love to offer to listeners is, if you sign up for Loop and you want to get on board before the end of October, we will give you a month free to get started and make sure you're seeing the value and the return on investment before $1 is even out of pocket.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much I just really appreciate you coming on the show today. I'll make sure that link, I'm going to have it ecommercefastlane.com/loop. That's going to redirect over to, where you can sign up and, take this offer up, because, having one full month now to at least get the processes and understand the workflows and how it can really help is, I think, overall, as you mentioned already, people are 30-40% of customers are probably going to go and check out the return policy, just, especially if they're our first time customer and they want to see what's going going on. They want to make sure they're protected and taken care of. And just, exactly like you showed here with this other company, I love Inherit, how they have their returns front and center. And so I'm going to make sure I have that link in there as inspiration for those listening today, that maybe this is a company that's well executed. So just wanted to thank you again for coming on the show. It's very clear to me that, you really are in tight alignment with Shopify. The mantra here is, making commerce better for everyone. It's very clear that, Loop is really, really working hard to improve efficiencies and really help brands grow revenue and lifetime value, all through having some great technology for the returns and exchanges. And I love the value you offer, but I also love the cost saving side that the platform offers with the instant exchanges. So once again, thanks for coming on the show, Jonathan.
Yeah, Steve, thank you so much for having me. Very, very grateful, and look forward to next time.
All right. Have yourself a great day.
You do the same.
Now, this episode was brought to you by Attentive, a personalized text message solution trusted by innovative brands like CB2, Coach, and thousands of Shopify brands. Now, as I mentioned, on average, Attentive customers see a 25x ROI, and over 18% of their online revenue is driven by SMS. Now, are you ready for SMS to become one of your top revenue channels? You can learn more how to get started and get your free trial by requesting a demo at attentivemobile.com. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you, a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, launch, grow, and scale with Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.